Hi folks, I have sent you the PowerPoint that I'm going to go through today as a PDF so you can see each bit. And the first 4 slides, I want you to have a go at yourself. Send me your answers, take a photo, send me your answers, I'll mark it for you and send it back. And then slide 4 looks like this. So this is the fifth page, and I'm going to go through just 3 of these and then you see how far you can go by yourself, and then I'll do the last few with you and explain what the point of the lesson was. So the first one is do you think, pause and have a think, try it with a number, do you think this is true or false? Okay, so whatever you thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a number, doesn't matter what number I choose to do it, let's say 200, and I'm going to try this out. So the first thing I'm going to do is increase it by 10%. 10% would be 20. If I'm increasing it, that would get me to 220. So that's that bit done. Then I'm going to decrease it by 10%. So this should actually say the number because I'm decreasing this new number. So I'm now going to decrease this by 10%. Well, 10% of this number is 22. So if I decrease this by 22, I'm going to get to 198. So this is false. If I increase something by 10% and then decrease that number, the answer, by 10%, I won't get to the same number I started with. And it's to do with this 10% is worth a different value. That's why as soon as you change the number, 10% is a different value because your 100%, your whole thing has changed. Now, there's quite an easy way to start working these out. And the easy way to work these out comes from what we did last lesson. So those grids that are in your book that you filled in. Because in those grids, we were talking about what multiplier do we use to find a percentage? What do we use to increase? Sorry, didn't mean to do that. What do we use to increase? And what do we use to decrease? Because they're all different multipliers that we use. So let's try this one. You can pause it and have a go if you want first. We're going to start with our 40 and we're going to increase it by 15%. What multiplier would I use for that? 1.15. And then, whatever number this gives us, and I don't need to know the answer yet, then I'm going to decrease it by 15%. What multiplier tells me a decrease of 15%? 0.85. If you're not sure what I'm talking about with these multipliers, go and look at your grid on what we did on Monday, because that's all I'm using. I'm using these multipliers that we talked about. This first one is an increase of 15%, and this second one is a decrease of 15%. Now, in an exam, you would type this in your calculator, you would get an answer. Today, I'm not actually bothered about the answer. I want to see what calculation you would have done. So I'm going to try a couple more with you before I let you try them by yourself. Pause the video and see if you can have a go at this one. So this time, I start with my 40. I'm decreasing it by 10%. Think about what multiplier that would be. If I'm decreasing by 10%, that means I want to find 90%, and that as a multiplier would be that. And then I'm going to increase it by 50%. So if I'm increasing by 50%, that means I want to find 150%. So that multiplier would be 1.5. So that calculation there would give me the answer to this question. In an exam, you'd type it in your calculator. You'd write down the answer. Today, I'm just bothered about what the calculation is. Now, keep going on those questions until you get to this one. When you get to this one, you can do them, you can go as far as you want, but come back and have a look at this one, because this is where it changes into a slightly different topic. So pause the video and get up to this one in the document. Okay, so in this one, I'm starting with my 400. I am increasing it by 3%, and then I am increasing it by 3% again. And what I'll be talking about in the lesson is how we can write this in a different way. Think about what this bit is. Would it make sense to write it like that? Well, it would, because this is 1.03 squared. It's much easier to type that into your calculator than that. So when you're doing these next questions, have a think about writing it this way and this way. Okay, so this is the next one. What about this one? I start with my value. I increase it by 2%. And then I increase it by another 2%. And that is much easier to write like that, because that's what this is. It's 1.02 squared. And what about this one? Be careful now, this one says decrease. So what? Decrease by 2.5%. That means I want to know 97.5% because I want the bit that's left. So I take my 4,800 and I want to know 97.5%. And then I want to do exactly the same thing again. This one's called depreciation because it's going down. I'll go through that again in a minute, those words. And that would be the easiest way to write it or type it into your calculator. Compound interest and depreciation. Now, compound interest is where it increases. So they usually talk about bank accounts and how you get interest in a bank account. And if you put money in a savings account, the bank will give you interest. It's how people make money and how people save money. Depreciation is the decrease. And that's things like when you buy a car, you might buy it for £10,000. A year later, it won't be worth that. If you sell it, it will be worth less. So cars depreciate because they depreciate, they go down in value. So if you think about the examples we've just done, some of them were when something decreased, some were when we increase. If you're increasing, it's compound interest. If you're decreasing, it's depreciation. Now, these are the first three questions. I'm going to go through these three, then hopefully you can have a go at the rest. So let's look at question 1. You can pause and have a go if you want. Paul leaves £4,000 in the bank. Remember, I said the bank, it's this word here, and particularly the word interest. They often use banks. It earns compound interest of 5% per year. Calculate the total amount Paul has in the bank at the end of 2 years. So he starts with his 4,000. It increases by 5% because that's what compound interest is, the increase. How many? So that multiplier would be 1.05 because that increase means he wants 105%. Now they want to know how much he has at the end of 2 years. Now that means we need to do this, but an easier way of doing that is to square it. And if you get used to doing that, you save yourself a bit of time. Now, I will let you type that into your calculator and work out the answer. When you've finished all of these questions, not just these 3, take a picture of that and send it me as well. Okay, the next one. The population of birds is estimated to increase, that's important, by 10% every year. The population of birds on the island is 20,000. Calculate an estimate for the population of birds in 3 years' time. The amount of time is really important. So the first thing we need to think about is this increase of 10%. That would be 110%. So work out your multiplier, 1.1. If they've done it for 3 years, that's going to be this. But what's the easier way of writing that? To the power of 3. The next question, the value of a car decreases. So be careful, they're asking for a decrease this time. If it's a decrease of 5%, that means we want to know the other bit, which is 95%. So if we bought a car 2 years ago, that's going to be important. For £10,000. I said they often use cars. They sometimes use computers as well. Now, let's work out our multiplier. 0.95. And I'm not going to write loads of them out like I was because we know the time scale. So that means it's going to be to the power of 2. Now type these in, work out the answers. Take a picture of your work and send it to me. Some of the rest of the questions might be harder, some might be easier. Just have a go and see if you can do them with a calculator, get some answers, see if you can work out the multipliers. This is all grade 5, so well done if you've had a go and got this far.